right, welcome to the road to the AntiChrist here on the third rail. Thank you for taking the time to watch this episode. I have a special guest today, Mr. C.J. Wallace. He is the field coordinator for the John Birch Society. I've had him on before, and he'll join us here shortly. And I just wanted to say before he comes on that whatever we discuss today, whatever he says is not necessarily the opinion or position of the John Birch Society. He is speaking for himself. And we had such a good time when he was on the last time. I wanted to have him back again to get his thoughts on what we're going to be talking about. So welcome to the show, Mr. C.J. Wallace.
Hey, Dave. It is great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on again. Love the work you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, sir. We also appreciate the work that you are doing. And as I was telling CJ before the program, after I had him on the last time, I don't know how Facebook knows. Of course, we always suspect they spy on everything we do. But all of a sudden, I start getting stories from the John Birch Society almost every day in my news feed. And I'm like, how do they know that? How do they know this? And I mean, if I ever search or go to the John Birch website, it's not through Facebook. It's just through my computer. So I don't know how they know, but I was telling CJ, it's something that I wish all Americans could get because it's great material that they put out. And unfortunately, as I was talking with Mr. Wallace, most Americans couldn't care less. They really couldn't. So, CJ, how you doing? What's going on down in Tucson?
I'm doing well. You know, a lot of things are going down here in Tucson. We actually just recently found out that they are trying to do the same thing that they're doing in Minnesota to Tucson. So the same thing that's happening in Minneapolis, they want to try to do in Tucson. More on that because that is a developing story. We actually have an inside person there that is tracking what's going on with the task force that Trump had there as well. So, but that's the job of a citizen, a concerned citizen, is to make sure that we are watching our government, holding them accountable.
That's a great point. Now, that's a very unpopular point. If you read the comments and so forth, most people, good people that I know, people that I respect, think it's wrong for citizens to be involved to the point of where you're out on the street watching them. Let's put it that way. Now, I am opposed to any kind of violence against anybody. I think that you would agree with that.
Yes.
But I'm not opposed, as you just said, for the citizenry to be aware of what the government is doing and watching. The thing that's been amazing to me, and you mentioned Minnesota, and we'll talk about that, is the visibility that these people have. Number one, what do you think about the fact that these guys dress like stormtroopers, like they're going into a combat zone, the way with the body armor and all the gear, camouflage? They're wearing jungle camouflage in town. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned that. It's stupid, but it gives a certain appearance. What are your thoughts on that? If you have anything on that.
I think that's a very good observation. You know, when you mention that, people's minds go directly to the Gestapo back in Hitler's Germany. But the enemy does not want us united. The enemy wants us divided and ignorant of the global conspiracy that is taking place. What the enemy of America and the enemy of every sovereign nation want is to completely dumb down the population and to have them go on tangents. You know what tangents are. Sure. They want us to be off of focus, and they never want to be in the limelight. Have you noticed that? That's why we have shadow governments, right?
Okay.
They
All right.
never want the people to realize what the real problem is. What they will do is they'll put on shows. They'll put on shows. They will cause this emotion to erupt in people so that the people who are ignorant of the global conspiracy can say, oh man, those liberals, or oh man, those conservatives, or oh man, those federal ICE agents, oh man, what are those people doing? That is not the issue. This is a part of a complete overhauling mission to get rid of the sovereignty of free citizens.
Boy, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. I'm going to pull up a quote here I took offline in a little bit that deals exactly with what you just said. But yeah, it's interesting. I've always been watching this in Minnesota. I don't know. I hear stories what they do in other states. A lot of other states, they don't really have issues with anybody. It doesn't seem like. Number one, the numbers on what they're actually supposed to be doing is deporting people. That's the whole purpose. I don't think it has anything to do with deporting people. It's more like what you just said. But excuse me, lost my train of thought. But in other states, they don't have issues. People don't seem to protest. Now, I'm all for enforcing the laws to get rid of people that are here illegally. I think that's a great thing. But the thing is, ICE doesn't really deport anybody. The numbers that they produce are limited, or they don't produce numbers at all. So you have all this big show of them out. Doesn't it seem odd to you that they are so visible with what you're doing? You would think if your job was to go out to a community and you had a list of bad people, okay? These are people supposedly, keep hearing about the word pedophile, pedophiles that are illegal aliens that are pedophiles. You hear that a lot. They have a list of these people, and they obviously know where they're at. So why would you go parading around dressed up like the Gestapo or stormtroopers out in the public to try to get... You don't think that these people have a network of friends that would say, hey, get on their cell phone and call, hey, they're only 2 blocks away. I see them coming. They're coming down the street. I mean, wouldn't you be more covert about it? Dress in plain clothes? Now, yeah, you can have body armor under your clothes, in plain clothes and not in such large groups, and go up to a home and knock on the door and grab the guy if you have to, or knock down the door if you have to, without making such a show about it. So do you think that this show, and that's what I think you just mentioned, it's a show, is to intimidate Americans and to change them and their mindset about what some perceive as tyranny by the federal government?
Absolutely. Boy, what a keen observation that you made. It is so that you can have one side pitted against another. It's
Yeah.
so that you can have these protests which sometimes turn violent. It's so that you can have riots, so that that global conspiracy can have more and more leeway. Listen, I'm all for law and order, right? If you're not supposed to be here, please go. But I like what our sheriff here in Maricopa County said, Jerry Sheridan. He said, if any ICE agent comes to my county and breaks the law, I am arresting them. Now that's controversial.
I'd like
However,
to see that.
does
I'd
the
like to see him do
sheriff,
that.
right? Does the sheriff have that authority?
He should.
Let's go
Yes.
all the way back to the principles, right? Why did the founding fathers even create America? Why? Why? Because they already had what the insiders are trying to put up on us. Tyranny. They
Yes.
had that. And so they separated what Great Britain put together. There is no such thing as the president can make the laws can execute the laws, can judge. No, they separated them because we don't want that tyranny.
Right.
And the job of the global conspiracy, right? The Council of Foreign Relations, trilateral, they're trying to band together what the founding fathers separated and to separate what the founding fathers bound together. Our strength as Americans is in being united. I can like chocolate ice cream, you can like vanilla ice cream, right? Without, we can like those flavors without judging one another and being nasty to one another. At least we like ice cream. Right? Let's find that common ground. Every freedom loving American should say, this thing that's happening over there in Minneapolis, who wants to divide us? Why are they showing us this? That's a very good observation you made.
Yeah, of course, the Minnesotans are, of course, obviously helping with that by being out on the street and protesting, where other places nobody seems to care, or everybody supports them. I mean, I support the mission in general, but what you mentioned the founders. Did the founders ever envision, and did they put entitled authority in the Constitution that they created for the new federal government that they were creating to create a federal police force? Is that even constitutional?
No, it's not. Let's go ahead and go a little further.
Okay.
Although Trump, right, it's been purported that he's limited mass migration, what he's doing is he's largely relying on laws that give the president much leeway in how to interpret and enforce them. Okay, either because the
Right.
laws are vaguely written or they're explicitly delegate congressional power to the president. That's in violation of what? Article 1, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution. And what does Article 1, Section 1 say? All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in who? The president? No, the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. So we have to go back to the very beginning, just like with anything. Is this a violation of the Constitution? Is this department, ICE, a violation of the Constitution? If it is, then we have a much deeper problem than ICE doing what they were doing there in Minneapolis. A much deeper problem.
Yeah. You talk about the president, and it's interesting. It's a from my limited understanding of history of how these things come about. But a couple of years ago, I questioned, like, for example, the president can create a budget. Well, we've always heard that the House of Representatives controls the purse strings. And how can the president have a budget? And it was an act that was passed back in the early 1900s. I forget the name of the act that Congress passed that allowed the president to create a budget. So Congress and the president, and we've seen this over the decades, along with the Supreme Court, have done things that have weakened the Constitution and have given powers to branches of the government that they have no business doing. Right now, we have the president and the president alone, without, as far as I know, congressional approval, sending an armada to off the coast of Iran. He is boasting openly of going to war with Iran. Most Americans don't even blink an eye about this. I am baffled beyond comprehension how Americans can allow a president to do that. What are your
pays the military?
Who pays the military? Oh, well, since we're broke, I don't. I guess you're going to say the taxpayer. That would be it if we lived within our budget. But yeah, I'm not sure if any of the money the taxpayer gives to the federal government if there's enough to even after they pay everything else to pay the soldiers. I don't know. Let's assume that there is. Yes, the taxpayer does pay for the soldier. Yes.
So if that's the case, what is the military for? It is to protect the people and property. That is it. Not to go kidnap someone from another country
Oh,
and bring them in,
oh,
not to go over
oh.
there to Iraq and to boast, because now you're part of the king's men. And in America, the president is not the king.
That's
Who
right.
are the kings? Plural. It is the people. But
Well, that's
what
the way it's
they
supposed to
want you
be.
to do, right, what they want you to think is that you have no power to change this, that you just have to sit and watch the show. Don't worry about it. We've got it. But there are people rising up, like people in, the John Birch Society, Tree of Liberty Society, and all around that are saying, wait a minute, now that I know better, I have the opportunity to do better. And they are asked questions that are now making their congressmen nervous, those congressmen that don't, love freedom, making them nervous. The state legislators who once capitulated to the federal government are now saying, wait a minute, my people know about what's going on, and now I have to say no. That is happening. Okay. Shout out to Representative Selena Bliss and others who are coming around to the fact that they are state legislators and they can say no to these tyrannical federal government edicts and mandates. So the military, what is it for? It's to protect us and
Right.
our property.
Right.
That's it. Not to fund, not to continue on and to be dupes. This is the one of the most upsetting things, Dave. If you
You
don't know, if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. And they are not supposed to be going to foreign nations to fight someone else's war. The question is, why are they fighting that war? Like me, I understand that there are things that go on within the military, okay, that that we can't help, right? But we have to take it back to the principle. What is the military for? And then fight to get back there. I love our military. I love our veterans. And more of them are asking, CJ, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned, and you opened up a can. You know how to open a can of worms. Now you mentioned Venezuela, and are you saying that our president didn't have the authority to go into a foreign country and kidnap its elected leader?
Well, you have the authority that people allow you to have. Always remember
Oh,
that.
that's good.
If
That's
there's
true.
no one that says anything about it, even if you're doing wrong, even if it's not called constitutionally, even if the
Yeah.
founding fathers are rolling in their graves and saying, what are you doing, President Trump? If no one says anything about it, the authority is yours.
It's
And
call
more
mob
people
rule,
are
isn't it?
questioning. There you
Yeah, and
go.
they call mob rule. I mean, you're supposed to
That's
have
all.
a Republican form of government. Of course, that doesn't mean like Republican and Democrat. Republican means that we have voting, and we elect our leaders and we hold them accountable and so forth. But it doesn't seem to be working. Again, you look back over history, and it's really something. And we're all affected by this. We're all on the same sinking ship. But because of the corruption over decades, the devaluing of our currency, the high cost of everything, men and now women have to work and slave away just to pay the bills. They haven't got the time to get involved in politics, even though it's the politics that is destroying their quality of life. They're not even aware of it. But even if they were aware of it, they don't have time to go out and fight it. Some have got to work multiple jobs just to pay the rent. It didn't used to be this way. It's, as I said, it's a problem that's happened over decades. Of course, we look back into the 50s, maybe even into the 60s, where a man could work a job, an average job, and provide a home and income and take care of his wife and children and have everything they needed. And now it's just not that way. You've got to have the husband working 2 jobs. You've got to have the wife out working. She's not home taking care of the home. She's not taking care of her husband. She's not taking care of the kids. She's out slaving away for money to pay the bills. The kids go without a mother or father in their life for the most part. And look at how they turn out. And they all become serfs to the system that's been created over decades. And that's where we're at today. And I don't see a solution for it. But that doesn't mean that we can't stand up and speak out about it. And that's why I appreciate you and what the John Birch Society is doing. You take the heat. You come out and say the unpopular things. You say the things that people don't want to hear, they don't like to hear. But you speak truth, and people just don't like it. If they did like it, they don't have time to do anything about it. That's what I see. Your thoughts?
Right. It's all about what people need to realize is that there was a system set in place in about 1884, and of course before that. But there's a group called the Fabian Socialists, whose motto was "Take it slow and let's hurry up. Hurry up and take it slow." What does that mean? That means we are going to implement our ideology bit by bit in these freedom-loving countries, okay? And of course, America was a huge target. And they've done this through laws, through administration. Have you ever heard of the administrative state? We have millions of federal employees, and people, they go to the elections, okay, and they vote for their favorite, president, congressman. But what they don't realize is the people who are in charge aren't elected. I'll say that again. The
Right.
people who are in charge are not elected. These are
Yeah,
the
the so-called deep
unelected
state.
bureaucrats. There you go, the deep
Yeah.
state, right?
Yeah.
And
Whatever
they
that
do
is,
not want to
right.
be right. They don't want to be have the light shone upon them, right? So what
Correct.
people are realizing now is that there are more and more coming out that questions the original narrative of, hey, you can just go vote, just leave it to us, we'll be okay. People are starting to question that now,
Yeah.
especially when they don't know about the advanced surveillance that ICE has. Have you heard about the advanced surveillance that they have?
Well, I not particularly.
Okay. So
I'm
they
not
have what
surprised.
is
Of course, they have
called
full access to anything the CIA has. I'm sure.
Right. So they have what is called stingrays, or International Mobile Subscriber Identity. These devices are mounted in vans and they mimic legitimate cell phone towers. Why? Why would they have that? So they can intercept signals from nearby mobile phones. So by tricking these phones into connecting to the van signal instead of a real tower, authorities can pinpoint a target's location. Okay, they can capture that
No.
unique device identifier and even intercept communications data, all without what they're supposed to have: traditional warrants.
Now,
Do you see what's
now,
happening?
see,
Now,
CJ,
couple
I
that,
gotta
couple
stop you. I
that,
gotta stop you there. Oh yeah, I gotta stop you there.
couple
What you're talking
clock
about can't be
cameras.
happening. It can't be happening. See, Edward Snowden blew the whistle years ago about this. And Obama apologized about all of it and said, we're going to stop all of that stuff. So what you're saying, it just can't be true.
Right. Just like the flock cameras can't be true. It has many people asking the question, what the flock is going on? Because these flock cameras, they will pinpoint your license plate.
Yeah.
And many people are wondering, what is this? Isn't this a violation of the Fourth Amendment? That's what it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, had an article just the other day, and because I don't live in Phoenix and rarely drive in Phoenix, but they're coming back with traffic cams, red light cameras in Phoenix, and of course it's a ploy to just increase revenue through tickets if they can get people to pay it. But beyond that, you have to wonder what else those cameras are doing. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
what you're saying is true. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but it was in the news today or yesterday. In Surprise, which is a town just in they're northwest of us, on the other opposite end of the valley, ICE just purchased a large commercial business structure for $40 million. I mean, it's a huge, huge structure. I don't know, and nobody said yet, why in the world ICE purchased. Of course, ICE doesn't purchase anything, because ICE doesn't have any money except what they steal from us. So the taxpayer's paying for this, probably through debt, because the government doesn't have any money to give anybody $40 million unless they print it or borrow it. So the taxpayer, though, is still on the hook for it, $40 million for this huge commercial building structure. What in the world are they going to be doing there? I don't know. Have you heard about that?
You know what? I haven't heard about that.
Okay.
But you know what I did hear about? I also heard about the information, right, being used. I don't know what they're going to do with all that information, okay? Because ICE also has information exchanges with a foreign nation. And I don't know if you know who the foreign
Any
nation
particular
is.
foreign nation? Any particular foreign nation?
Well, it is our greatest ally, actually, one of our greatest allies,
Oh,
Israel. And its agents are
okay.
trained in part by the Israeli Defense Force, right? And
Okay.
so, apart from the fact that it's Israel, people are just concerned, hey, wait a minute, what is my information possibly doing outside of the United States of
Oh,
America?
yeah. Yeah.
You know, if the,
Yeah.
if the government was run by angels who had our
Yeah.
best interests in mind, I'm sure we wouldn't have any questions, right?
Sure.
However,
Sure.
right, we do have to question, wait a minute, what's going on? Especially when that $40
Yeah.
million structure is coming up. We also have Vice President J.D. Vance's ties with Palantir, Peter Thiel,
Yeah. I've heard
and
that. Yeah.
all of that. You know, I mean, the surveillance state, it's becoming a real concern for people. The good news about it is people are going to City Hall. They are storming places, and they are letting their concerns be known. So they're not sitting down with this.
Well,
From the surveillance to, yeah,
yeah, I applaud that. But of course, that means nothing as far as them doing what they want to do anyway. I've been to enough city council meetings to know that if they have the regulations on their side, doesn't matter what you say, they're going to do what they're going to do. So, but it's good that people speak out, but they need to speak out with their vote and get rid of these people. And the problem, as you know, and I'm sure you agree, and especially in Congress, is we keep sending the same ones back over and over and over again. Now, there are certain instances where, in my opinion, that's a needed thing, like Mr. Massey. I don't know why a man like that does what he does. He knows the ship is halfway down, and he's still on. He's not getting on the lifeboats yet, and he's still thinking he can do some good. And I appreciate his position and all that, but there are so few like him. But I don't know. So let me go back a little bit. I want to show you this graphic that I stole off Facebook about the real reason of ICE, actually anywhere. This might be in particular to, no, it's not, doesn't say anything about Minnesota. Let's look at this and see what it says. Okay, so ICE isn't really just about deporting illegal immigrants. That's just how it's framed publicly, so it's accepted by the sheep. Who are the sheep, CJ?
those that don't know, just
Yeah.
follow the herd.
Yeah, most of us are sheep. We're all sheep to some degree about a lot of things, but most people are more sheepish than we are. What it's really about is getting the public accustomed to military-style forces patrolling the street from when the government puts the digital ID and social credit score system into play in America. Arresting people without warrants and even unaliving citizens needs to become so normalized that less people will speak out or rebel when the militarized police are asking for your digital ID and Vax Pass in order to leave your neighborhood or sector. It's a great statement. I wish I had written it, but I did. I've been saying something similar in the past about these very things that are going on with ICE, and it sort of goes along with what you and I are both talking about now. And it's just it's a horrible thing. Now let me ask you in particular about the show that ICE is putting on, and this became apparent to me with the Renee Good shooting. The two have been killed recently, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Let me first get your. We might not agree on this. We probably won't agree on this, but that's okay. But let me get your opinion about these shootings, if you have an opinion that you'd like to express.
Anytime someone loses their life, especially if they don't know Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior, it's a sad thing. Now, I don't know the
That's
state
right.
of their soul.
Right.
Any death is sad. Any death is sad. What came out when Christine Noen said that these were domestic terrorists, domestic terrorists, can be interpreted a number of ways. Okay. And some people are concerned that they're getting us ready to hate anyone who confronts government officials, anyone who confronts the king's men. In that movie Braveheart, when someone had killed, I believe, William Wallace's wife, it's been a while, he said an attack on the king's men is the same as the attack on the king. So one has to wonder, are they trying to get us ready to live under a tyrannical kingdom type system where if you confront a government official, you're as good as being labeled a domestic terrorist? Now, this isn't the only time that those words have been used. I believe under other regimes, that word was used as well, perhaps to explain what the right-wing extremists were saying, the conspiracies that were brought out. Now, conspiracy, people get alarmed with that word, but it's mentioned 10 times in the Bible, and every time that it's mentioned, it's associated with a crime. It's when two or more people get together for a nefarious purpose. This happened when we were in elementary school. This happened in high school, universities, on the job. Conspiracies are real. Can conspiracies exist on a global scale? Yes. And we're a part of one right now. But when that conspiracy is blown wide open, which you're doing a great job that day, please keep it up. It has more and more people ready for whatever comes down the path. So now they're looking at Christine Noen and they're saying, well, why did she say domestic terrorist? Whether you agree with what Renee Good and Alex were doing or not, could it be a narrative that they want to push so that they're getting us used to living under a tyrannical regime? We've got to ask ourselves these questions. We've got to be critical thinkers. And it's leaning towards that way. Are these people even legitimate? If you're violating the Constitution on a pretty frequent basis, should you still be there? Should the people still listen to you? This is where we've come as a nation.
Great points. So here's where I'm at on these two shootings. Number one, I agree with what you've said about the show, about the government trying to get people into a mindset to get people to fight each other about these things. And from the very first time I saw the videos concerning Renee Good's killing, the first thing that struck me, and maybe this is a little off topic what we're talking about, but the first thing that struck me was that the ICE agent that killed her put himself in a position in front of her car on purpose. Now, anybody watching that, I mean, she's sitting in the car, in the driver's seat, the motor is running, he's walked around the car using his own cell phone to video. He gets around back in front of her car on purpose, switches the phone from his right hand to his left so he has easier access to his pistol. You can see in the video where she is clearly turning the steering wheel hard to the right to get away. And then she moves the car, he pulls his pistol and murders her, in my opinion. Now, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who I highly respect and knows obviously a lot more about law than me, says that it's not murder necessarily, it would be manslaughter. Regardless, it was a crime. This woman did nothing to deserve having her life taken. Why did he do that? Why did the agent place himself in front of the car on purpose? In my opinion, and it's strictly my opinion, he did it knowing full well that traditionally, if a car comes at you, you can shoot to defend yourself because you feared for your life. Now, having said that, there was an opinion put out by the Supreme Court last year that supposedly addressed this very thing, saying that law enforcement cannot put themselves into positions, putting themselves in harm's way on purpose, and then use the "I feared for my life" excuse to kill somebody. Which that opinion makes perfect sense to me. So why did he do that? I don't know. I'm not in his head. But still, in my opinion, he murdered the woman, manslaughter, whatever you want to call it. She's dead for no reason. She did nothing to deserve death. Now, going up to Alex Preddy, we have video of that entire event, for the most part. Now, the video starts with the man standing in the middle of the street with his phone. Then the ICE agents approach another woman that assaults the woman, knocking her down to the ground. Mr. Preddy goes over to assist her. He then, too, is assaulted by several ICE agents and eventually knocked to the ground. They see that he has a concealed, perfectly legal firearm. They take the gun away from him. He's on the ground. So the other officer pulls his weapon and shoots the guy 9 times in the back. And it's all justified according to the federal government. Why did that happen? It's horrible. Now, is this part of what you just said? This blatant killing of American citizens that did nothing to warrant having their lives taken from them. Is this part of the fear factor of conditioning Americans to not oppose the federal government? Because as that article that I posted earlier said, this is just a step in the process. So they want you to take the next vax. They'll come to your house and they'll want to come into your house without a warrant. They're doing that now. ICE is doing that now, coming into homes without a warrant. If you do something, you look at them cross-eyed, they'll have a reason to shoot you. I have friends who I love and respect online that support ICE 100%. And here's what's so funny. And I'm going to just generalize it by saying this. They found out, CJ, they found out by looking into Alex Preddy. We'll pick on Alex Preddy. They found out that in his past, when he was a child, he stole cookies from the cookie jar and he lied to his mother. Can you believe that, man? He was vile. I mean, that's not what they're saying, but I'm just saying that because they're coming back to this man's past and showing all the things he did. It's totally irrelevant. If they presented that in court, the other attorney would object, say it's irrelevant information. Who cares what he did yesterday? It's what he did today to deserve being shot. But that's what people are doing. They are conditioning themselves to find any excuse. Can you imagine Christians coming up with trying to justify in their own minds his murder by saying, well, yeah, but he spit on a ICE officer last week and kicked their car. Oh, well, they should have shot him 15 times then. I mean, are you kidding me? What kind of people do that? What kind of people have that kind of morals where they can justify something that somebody did in the past to justify being shot in the back 9 times when you're on the ground and defenseless? Now, let me say this. They found his firearm. Now, I don't know how true this is or not. Supposedly, there was a misfire of the pistol. I don't know. I haven't seen the video about that. I don't know if a video exists of the gun going off. I don't know. There is a video showing the agent pulling the gun out and holding it in his hand, and it's pointing towards the ground. CJ, I'm going to tell you this. I've told others. This is my opinion, and just my opinion. If that gun went off, it did not go off by accident. That agent fired it on purpose. Why did he do that? To set up an environment, an emotion to where these other officers would be forced into a position of defending themselves, hearing a gunshot, and killing this man. Now, can that be proved? Probably not. But these things don't happen by accident. They just don't happen by accident. There is planning. Somebody said, well, this guy, Preddy, was out and he spit on the officers the day before or last week or whatever and kicked their car, and there's video of that. Yeah, he was angry. He was in their face. So what? Does that justify getting shot? No.
Right.
No, but people will use that. This is the mentality. What you said about conditioning and getting people in a certain frame of mind, we're seeing it happen right now with an innocent man who posed no threat to anybody, was murdered. Right. And people defend it. I'm beside myself with it. I've got a friend, he's in Las Vegas, and he was messaging me today about something. And finally I said, look, brother, I'm done talking to you. I can't deal with people who use trivialities of somebody's past to justify them being shot in the back 9 times. I just can't do it. It's insanity. Beyond that, every person needs to go and look in the mirror and look at themselves and see how wicked and vile they are, how wicked and vile I am. And if it wasn't by the grace of Jesus Christ, I would be destined for hell. But I've received grace because of his sacrifice on the cross at Calvary. I would deserve to be shot in the back 9 times. If you want to look for what people have done in the past, look at yourself. It's unbelievable to me. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. That's why I had you on here, so I could have somebody I could unload on. So
hey, preach. That's good, man. I'm getting the word over here. Thank you.
All right, but I think they're murdered. I think they were, or like the judge says, manslaughter, whatever. So I want to show you this this article that was posted yesterday on a local website. Now this talks about father killed by Phoenix police after calling 911 during shooting, family says. And let me scroll down. It shows the man. He is the father, the husband. Here's the story. A gunman approached their home, tried to get in, went around back, got in the house. He had a shotgun. He fired some rounds, from what I understand. I'm not sure that they knew this person. I don't know. But this man and the assailant got into a fight, a scuffle. They took the shotgun away from him, and they called 911. When the police arrived, they told him there's no firearm. This is what's in the article. Again, this is all hearsay. Nothing's in court. We don't know, but they said there's no firearm. And the officer went in the home and saw the husband on top of the assailant, supposedly beating him with the shotgun. Okay? The officers stop, whatever. He had shot the father in the head. Now, he killed the man. That's a horrible, horrible thing. And this kind of thing happens. It's not on video. It's not like the ICE shootings where we have it all on video. and we can look for ourselves. This happened in somebody's home. There was an incident a few months ago. I don't remember if it was here or not. Again, they called 911. The police came in the home. The husband had something in his hand that looked like a gun, and he was told to drop it, and he wouldn't, and the police officer shot and killed him. So I have it on good authority here what's going to happen to this officer. Now, I say this in contrary to what the federal government does to its people. The federal government doesn't allow anybody else to investigate their supposed crimes. They investigate themselves. It's total conflict of interest. You cannot audit your own company's finances. You have an outside source do it. You cannot, if an agent of your organization is accused of murder, you cannot investigate that yourself. That's a conflict of interest. Here in the city of Phoenix, I am told that the officer will have criminal charges submitted against him. Standard practice to do that. His tactics and decision-making will be extremely scrutinized and possibly face discipline along with criminal charges. And that investigation will be by, it is not the Phoenix Police. It is by the Department of Arizona, whatever it is. But it's the state police level. So they investigate the crime, if there was a crime, and they will make the decision. So it is investigated immediately. The officer's, obviously, he doesn't say this, but he's probably on administrative leave. And personally, I'm sure his life is ruined. He realizes he killed an innocent man. And so, but the point of this is that horrible things happen everywhere with law enforcement. And people have choices when they do that. And in the case of this particular officer, he's going to probably pay a price for that. The feds, they'll get a paid vacation. Nothing's going to happen to any of these people. How do we know that? Ruby Ridge and Waco. Prime examples of federal tyranny in the murder of innocent people. Not one thing was done to any of those that were involved in those things. So it's a horrible thing. It happens. You can try to justify it by blaming, well, they shouldn't have been there. They should have stayed home. I have people that are Republican Second Amendment advocates saying he shouldn't be carrying a gun, which is totally legal to do and within his right, arguing that he shouldn't have been doing it. People are insane. They're wacky. And there's no cure for it. I don't know what you do. But stand your ground, stand firm, and I'm not going to change my opinion one bit. These deaths were unnecessary. They didn't do anything to deserve it, and I hope that somebody pays a price for it. And by the way, if they do pay a price, it will be through a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Now, who pays for the federal lawsuit? You and I do.
Wow.
Right?
That's very true. Very
right.
True. Yeah,
so it's going to be a wrongful death lawsuit. If the plaintiff wins, the money that is allotted to them comes from the treasury, of which there is none. There's cobwebs in the vault, but stack of IOUs. They'll go out and print some more money and pay them the $50 million or $100 million that they're going to get paid. We pay for that. We're responsible for it. We do it. So, personally, I think that if there was no criminal conviction and it was a civil case, I think that the people involved would pay for it out of their own pocket. Ooh. Anyway, that's what I would think. That's actually a Bible philosophy. You pay for it yourself. You don't get somebody else to pay it for you. You pay for it. So
that's right.
It's a horrible thing, CJ, and it's horrible what's going on across our country. So what's the solution? What can we do?
You know what? The solution, it's still the Constitution, but it has to be implemented in a certain way. All right. We have to have concerted action. Case in point, we have up there in Prescott, right? Up there in Phoenix, actually, in Maricopa, teams that are not only confronting, right, the powers that should not be, okay, these powers shouldn't be in their positions, but they're educating their neighbors, right? Taking time out of their day, going around and actually turning people. And so, what does this mean? That means, I think a lot of times we see that we're surrounded and we give up hope. But all we need is really one life preserver, only one. That one life preserver speaks volumes. And that life preserver is going to be the one that says, I can do something about it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? What if you were like, I'm only one person, so and I don't have a team, and I might as well quit. Well, listen, if you quit, then what about that other person that needs your voice, right? And so that's what it's all about. We are not in this fight alone. There was a man by the name of Jonathan who had an armor bearer, and he had a slew of what is called Philistines that he was going to fight. And instead of getting discouraged, he said, you know what? If I show my face and they say, come here, we want to show you something, that means God has given them into our hand. With just two people, Dave, he eliminated the opposition. God, our God, does not need millions of people to win. Hey, the American Revolution, which really the revolution was in the heart and minds of the American people, did they need millions of people to be on their side? No. 0.008%. 0.008% of the people actually were responsible for the winning of the War of Independence.
Yeah.
God, unlike
Yeah.
the enemy, see, the enemy needs loads and loads of people, which is what he's been using for what, over 150 years? Actually, longer than that. But he still hasn't taken America under. Why? Because there are still people that pray, still people that have a strategy, still people that believe, right? There are still people that believe that education should be the total strategy and truth the only weapon. You see, General Akbar or Admiral Akbar off of Star Wars, I think, said it best. When you're looking at what ICE, the show that we call ICE, the ICE show, or whether it's the Iraq show, or whether it's the Venezuela show, or whenever any other show that
I,
goes on in the theater of the world, he said this: it's a trap.
yeah.
And Paul said it better: be not deceived. Whenever they want to show you something, be like Toto. Pull back the curtain and see who is really running the show. Aim
By
at
the way,
that one. Paul said it
I
like this: flesh and blood, that's not our enemy. The enemy is the principalities, the powers, the rulers of the darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness. The enemy is what you can't see. And it's those
yeah.
laws, it's those imaginations. And that's where we need to be. We need to be in the imaginations of these children. We need to be in the imaginations of these adults who are saying, you know what, maybe I need to give up. Right. And maybe I can't do anything about this current situation. We need to give them stories of people who went before them who could do something about their situation, who could separate from the British throne and start one of the most prosperous nations ever on the foundation of Scripture. It all comes back to that. In order to dispel darkness, you've got to have light.
That's right. I call the show, by the way, I call the show Ice Capades. If you know
But
what
it
the Ice
is
Capades
Ice
are.
Capades.
Yeah, the Ice Capades.
Yes, I remember that.
So,
Wow.
well, CJ, I think we've upset enough people. I think we've upset a few. And that's the only reason we do
Amen.
this, is to
Yeah.
upset people and get them riled up. And so that's fine. That's what it's all about. Do you have any closing statements you'd like to make before we go?
Absolutely.
About anything. Go ahead. It's
Right.
yours.
Well, when we referenced the flock cameras before, we do have good news on that here in Arizona. Sedona and Flagstaff, which are considered blue cities, very liberal, they got rid of their flock cameras. What this is doing, what the surveillance state is doing, is instead of dividing people, it's actually uniting people. I'm talking about liberals and conservatives. They at least unite on this, and that is do not watch our children. Do not watch our license plates. Do not do it, right? You have no business doing it. Don't do it. They had to rip the flock cameras out of those cities. Think about it. Sedona and Flagstaff, blue cities, they had to rip them out because the people spoke up. But what if the people had not spoken up? What if they were like, oh, well, the city knows best? They would have still been there, and the deep state would have had an even more advantage over the people. But because the people spoke up, they were able to make sure those cameras were no longer there. And that's what we need to do. As we, the people, we are the strongest branch of the government. People have lied to us and said, no, not really. We are the strongest branch of the government. And as more and more of us realize that, you're going to see the golden age of America get ushered in. Because when the enemy wants us divided, the answer is to unify in truth. And that's what we're doing.
Well said, CJ. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for your time. I really value that. It means a lot to me. Folks, thanks for watching this episode of The Road to the Antichrist. And from what we've talked about here, we do see that that's where America's heading. And we still need to stand. We're still responsible to stand for truth and freedom and the Constitution. Thank you so much for watching. CJ, hang around. We'll be right back with you, okay? Don't go away. Thanks, folks, for watching.
Awesome.
Take care.